Hey, welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Dr. Jaws here. And tonight we are going to meet the graceful cat shark, Proscyllium habereri. So, what's kind of funny is that I know last week we said we were going to meet the Mandarin cat shark, but after doing some research, I think that's not quite a fully described species yet, and it actually might be a morph of a different species. So we'll kind of dive into that a little bit later. But the graceful cat shark is in the same genus, Proscyllium, which I believe are the finback cat sharks. So it's going to be really cool to revisit this family. One of our streams, I think that was earlier this year, was the magnificent cat shark, which is a very closely related cousin. So we have seen some clips of the graceful cat shark in relation to magnificent cat shark stream, but it's really cool to revisit this group, just because they're not really very popular in culture, and so it's going to be fun to dive into them and see what we can see and learn more about them. So, a couple of places to start. I think what we'll do is we'll look at. Well, let's actually check out some fish base while we're waiting for people to kind of hop online. So, Proscyllium habereri, the graceful cat shark, was described in 1904. So, we've had familiarity with the species, but again, it's not very popular. This family, which I think is Proscylliidae, yep, the finback cat sharks, is recently separated from the other cat shark families because the taxonomy of cat sharks has been under so much revision. But this species has been known for over 100 years, which is pretty interesting. Proscyllium is Latin for in front of, so pro, like before. Oh, see you like. Hey, Howard, welcome back. Good evening to you too. Hope you had a good weekend. And welcome to our Graceful Catshark stream. So, glad to have you back, and hope you did something fun for the weekend. This was the first weekend on our end where we just kind of got some cleaning done, got some organization done, and started to watch some scary stuff. So we've been watching spooky ghost shows, Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I think there was one more Halloween thing that we watched. I can't remember. I listened to while I was cleaning. I listened to a Resident Evil Let's Play just for fun. So it's that time of year. It's fun to be back in October. So, but hope you had a great weekend, and are looking forward to tonight's stream. So for context, we'll take a look at this. So this was the shark that we were originally going to do tonight, but I think this is this is either a morph of a different species, or this is its own species, but it's not yet fully described. So last week we were talking about how we were going to do the Mandarin cat shark, which is this picture right here. But after doing some research, I don't think the Mandarin cat shark technically is a just fully described species yet. I don't see it in Sharks of the World, or in any edition of Sharks of the World. And as we learn more about the same genus, Proscyllium, I think we'll kind of figure out where this beautiful shark fits in terms of that. So we're going to learn about this species tonight. Proscyllium habereri. Habereri is the graceful cat shark. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Got your book. Perfect. Thank you. Well, not thank you. Congratulations. I am so sorry that took forever. And it's a shame because I had more to send, and I don't know really what happened with customs as far as the prize package did make it to Canada, and then it was turned around, and I'm not sure what kind of caused that. But at least I'm really happy that at least the book was able to be sent over, and it's a phenomenal book. So I'm so glad that you have it. Sharks of the World, East Coast of North. Oh, perfect. I'm so glad you have it. Sharks of the World, Sharks of the East Coast of North America. This is a new arrangement. The information where they have the temperature ranges, the depth ranges. A lot of it is like not depth, but temperature for sure is new. Like how all the sharks are organized, it's super cool. And I actually saw that there's another book in the same design for Sharks of the Mediterranean. So I think that one's brand new and that just came out. So we'll keep an eye out for that. I probably won't pick it up since I focus more on like mid-Atlantic shark species, but it's the same kind of format. So if you love this book, and I'm really glad that you do. As you love this book, there's another one about sharks in the Mediterranean, and that's a really important area. I think they're going to keep making more of these actually, which I'm really happy about. So I'm so glad you have it, and just let me know what you think as you read through it. I've really been enjoying just how it's regionally focused, and it kind of like has specific information to the region. I just think it's really cool. So, but here is tonight's shark is the Graceful Catshark, and this is the Mandarin finback catshark, which we were allegedly going to review tonight. But and I couldn't find any information on the Mandarin catshark, either because it's so new, or maybe there's like something kind of going on where this is a morph of that magnificent catshark, and it's just not accurately reported. So this is from a website called Reef Builders, and I'm just going to kind of skim through this because I don't know how credible a source this is, so we'll see. It says exciting new species which has just been collected for the northern Philippines. Just some little context of other sharks. Talking about how this is a beautiful pattern, and it is. So this might be a brand. When was this article written? 2015. That's the other thing that's a little suspicious. So this article came out in 2015. And Sharks of the World, the newest edition, which is always updated, came out in 2022. So it would have been included in it, and I don't have any information on this species. So I think this is a morph of a different shark. So this could be maybe a mutation or a morph of the magnificent catshark. I don't think this is a new species, but either way, we'll learn about this. Member of the same genus, the Graceful Catshark, and maybe it will give us some context in terms of like where this Mandarin catshark came from. So, but let's see. There are only 6 recognized species in the family Proscyllidae, with 3 genera containing species known as the magnificent catshark and harlequin catshark. Yeah, and like this sounds like, I mean, this website looks like an aquarium trade website, and I don't want to endorse that just because species that are acquired in aquariums or for the aquarium trade, it's a very destructive practice. If it's a new shark, shark or fish that is taken from a reef, there's so many animals that die in that process, where for every successful shark that is imported, there's like 10 sharks that pass away on the journey. So it's just it's really, I don't want to endorse this, it's really terrible, but no notes here. So but interesting photographs of the other closely related Proscyllium species. So another photo of tonight's species, the Graceful Catshark, right here. And then interesting snapshot of the magnificent catshark, which we covered in a stream a while ago. So, hey Minjas, welcome back. Glad to have you here. Still needed to sit down and properly read all the books, but lucky enough to get from you. Aww. Oh, that's so cool! Thank you. They've been great helps when it comes to giving info to friends. So fair though. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you enjoy them. No. Honestly, like the Sharks of the World series, in particular, I really enjoyed writing the books that I've written. But the Sharks of the World series is like, for a quick rundown of sharks, it's fantastic. So they have like all this great information, and just all the bare essentials, like what. Like if you need a quick guide of like what shark lives where, and like how deep it lives, and like how big it gets and what it eats, the Sharks of the World series is fantastic. So, but fortunately, we actually do have some clips of the Graceful Catshark, so we'll take a look at that. So most of these, actually all of these, I think are in aquarium settings, so we may not see a lot of behavior. Other than this is like many, well, all cat sharks, they are bottom dwellers, so they're able to actively pump water over their gills. So they're very comfortable sitting on the seabed and hiding in crevices away from predators. This little guy is very cute. I actually arranged tonight's clips from the youngest shark to the oldest. So this looks like one of the younger individuals. You can kind of tell just the proportion of the eyes relative to the head. Kind of like the small size and the little roundness of the fins. Just it's a baby. So. It's kind of cool seeing the eyes move. So like how the eyes are kind of like looking at different directions. So. And speaking of the eyes, the irises are just beautiful on this species. So very, very clear irises around a pretty large dark pupil. Almost like golden irises, and then kind of like this really cool mahogany area around it. So very, very beautiful eyes on this species. And I love how it's like chilling, but it's also actively looking around. So we'll take another look at a different view of a finback cat shark, or a graceful cat shark, which is a kind of finback cat shark. This one is also pumping water over its gills, but this one actually is behaving a little bit differently in the sense that it is standing on its pectoral fins. So what's kind of cool about this behavior is that epaulet sharks do this, where they will actually use their pectoral fins to kind of pivot or position their heads upwards. So rather than lying flush with the seabed, these sharks can actually kind of like perch on their pectoral fins. And it might give them a better view of their surroundings, or maybe it's something more comfortable for them, but it's kind of like a cute little detail for this species and other like bottom dwelling sharks. So similarly, really beautiful eyes with pretty striking irises around large pupils. It still looks like a juvenile, so it still definitely looks like a baby cat shark. So cat sharks, well, this kind of cat shark, like all other cat sharks, hatches from eggs. Slightly different variation in the patternation here, where the spots are darker and the back, the skin is like a nice cream color, beige saddles. Rounded dorsal fins in relatively equal size, so it almost looks like a hound shark in that sense. We'll take a look at a slightly larger individual, so same species, the graceful cat shark. This one you can see has a little bit more size to him, or her. The fins are a little bit larger. The mouth is a little bit larger. The eyes proportionally a little bit smaller relative to the head. It's also doing the same behavior as the other clip, where it's standing on its pectoral fins. So it's kind of perching on its pectoral fins. So the rest of its body is flush with the bottom of the tank, but the pectoral fins are angled pretty sharply so that the shark can angle its head upward. So it can be a way to be more aware of the surroundings. Might help in terms of respiration, so it might help as far as it might be easier to breathe with your head lifted upward versus being flush with the bottom of the tank. Oh, these are some good questions, by the way. These are some really good questions. Sorry, I just saw these in the chat, so I'm going to pause the video really quick to... Howard, does the aquarium tray try to manipulate shark genetics by selecting for size, coloration, etc.? That's a great question, and as far as I know, no. I have not heard of that, but that's an excellent question. I think that would be kind of tricky to logistically pull off, just because you would have to collect so many sharks in order to do that, and I think even that is logistically really tricky. So, but that is an excellent question, because if like I could see a market for that, and that's really disturbing and really scary. But I think logistically, it's kind of tricky to pull off. And as far as like actual research, I've not seen anything related to that. And also, just to clarify my earlier statement, I think it's important to make a distinction between public aquaria and private aquaria. So public aquaria does have actually a pretty good network of like aquarists in public aquariums, like the Baltimore Aquarium or like the Virginia Aquarium. They actually do trade information, and they actually do research and keep track of the sharks that they're housing. And it is, in a weird way, another layer of conservation where even though no shark is in a natural setting in an aquarium, and you can make a lot of very good arguments about whether that helps or hinders a shark, and like how positive or negative it is on a shark. I think for the smaller reef sharks it's okay, but for the larger ones that are migratory, I think you can make a very fair argument that it's not really where they want to be. But that being said, there is a lot of research that can be done in aquariums. There's a lot of behavioral studies that can be conducted in aquariums, and having a record of all the sharks that you have, and I think of sand tiger sharks specifically, it kind of helps to know that there's a diverse gene pool of those critically endangered species around the world in public aquariums around the world, and that may be helpful, to have, and say if there was a nightmare scenario where we overfished sand tiger sharks, at least there's a couple of public aquariums that do have a diverse assemblage of sand tiger sharks where there's some genetic stock there. So in that sense, public aquariums, they should be treated differently than private aquariums. Public aquariums actually do have a research component and an integration around the world that kind of there's a network of people around the world, trading information and understanding, accounting for the sharks and animals that they have. So that's great. Private aquariums don't need to really do that, and it's really aesthetics and a hobby, and it gets really tricky because, again, for acquisition of tropical fishes, if you're acquiring a tropical fish from the field, it's an extremely destructive practice, and again, for every fish that lives to be transported to a different country, there's 10 fish that died in the middle of that transport. So that part is really controversial. I would say there's a lot of fish today that have already survived that practice and have had generations to be bred in this country. So I think of clownfish in particular. I think there's it depends on the species, but I believe there are some clownfish species that actually are they're not acquired in the way I'm describing. They're actually bred in Petcos and stuff and traded. But I'm very suspicious of private aquariums just because there's no educational component and there's not a research opportunity. So I'm very, very suspicious of that, and I feel really bad about sharks being in captivity just because they are very complex animals that need a really unique set of nutrients, physical settings. They're complicated animals to keep in aquaria. And I used to work in aquariums, so I it's just all aquariums are tricky to set up, but shark aquariums in particular, they're just so complex that I'm just very suspicious of private shark aquariums. So sorry, that was a really long diatribe. I love these comments, Minjus, about the cuteness of the Graceful Catshark, which I agree, it is a beautiful species. And Howard, I think you're absolutely right. I think it has with reptiles genetic modification. I'm very much against it. Agreed. Because what's interesting is that for domesticated animals, for dogs and cats, I mean, in a weird way, it's kind of happened, and that's very different because those animals are so much more integrated with a human lifestyle. But for reptiles, which are not integrated with a human lifestyle, they're so removed, and they're so it's not the same. You can't really domesticate a bearded dragon or an alligator. They're very different, and so the idea of genetic modification with those, it's scary, just because it gets into a lot of interesting ethical questions. So, Minja's given how other captive breeding programs are, leopard geckos, from other knowledge, is super possibly scared that private aquarium owners may breed sharks for the purpose of coloration. You might be right. You honestly might be right, and like I'll keep my eye out because I have not seen anything about that, but I would not be surprised if it existed. But I've not seen any research about that. So, pub aquaria are like museums compared to commercial aquaria that emphasize profit over science. Yes, thank you, Howard. That's a I'm going to start that. That's a much more succinct way of describing what I was trying to describe. And actually, what's kind of funny is it relates. And I'm going to out myself a little bit too. It relates to fossils too, right? Where artifacts, museum artifacts, where there's an ethical question of like artifacts in public museum collections. You could have ethical questions about their provenience, but at the end of the day, there's a benefit where they're being shared with the world, and they're being shared. They're used to share knowledge with the masses, so that's a positive thing. Whereas somebody who is collecting something and has it stowed away, that's a little different. But I'm out of myself because I have a private collection of fossils that I found directly, and so but I value that collection, and I understand the thing that I am seeing. I think there's something to be said about. I'm really rambling because it's Monday, but I think there's something to be said about having in a case of fossils, having the shark fossils that I have, I know what I am seeing, and I know what I'm looking at, and I know where I've collected them. I've collected them directly, and I know where I found them, and I value them, and I understand them. So I feel like that's a positive thing, and something that I feel good about that. I don't feel good about holding on to a rare Ecphora fossil, which is it's a state fossil in Maryland, and it's this shell, where I don't really have a connection with shells. I don't really understand, or care about, it's not that I don't care, it was just, I don't really have that connection, with the Ecphora shell as a mollusk person would. And it's just if you value and understand the thing that you have, and you deem that it is ethically okay. I mean, sorry, I'm slowly opening up so many cans of worms, so many different ethical questions. But I think you guys are understanding what I'm trying to say. Is that there's always a benefit if it's something that's public. If it's private, and if we're talking about artifacts, it's tricky. It gets into an interesting territory of well, do you understand what you're holding? Do you understand what you have? Do you value it for what it is? Or did you just pick it because it's pretty, and there's more of a superficial relationship there? And then this gets even more complicated with animals, where you're talking about private aquarium trades and private zoo, not even zoos, private collections that you just get into some really interesting ethical questions. So catch up on comments, and I'll hit play on the video. I'm so sorry. This is really really interesting diatribe. Whenever I see fossils created part of a private collection, my favorite twitches. I go, Prey wasn't a billionaire that bought it, so it'd never be seen again. Yes, yep. So Minjas, definitely agree, and I think you're hitting exactly what I'm trying to describe, which is, if say someone found a T-Rex, right? A T-Rex skull, you could keep it because it's really cool. Or actually, maybe even something better, a T-Rex skull, or gold, gold doubloons from not doubloons, actually no, a T-Rex skull, or a golden artifact from a culture that is not yours, right? A culture that is not related to the culture that you were raised in and came from. If you kept it away privately, it's like Indiana Jones. It belongs in a museum. It's kind of it gets into some interesting ethical questions. To Howard's point, shark teeth are the most common fossils found due to their shed rate. That's true. And just I found multiples of the species that I've found, so I don't feel guilty about having them, um, but but also they're also not artifacts that are necessarily like they're not like I mean like they're special, but they're not like one of a kind, and as an interesting example for the contest, like the fossil contest, I'm actually able to mail shark teeth anywhere. I'm not able to mail some other fossils from Virginia, like the Chesapeake, which is the Virginia. It's like the what do you call it? It's a scallop, fossil scallop. That one's actually illegal for me to mail or to ship because I think it's like the state fossil of Virginia, and there's some cultural connection there where it's like I'm not allowed to like share that with. Like across borders, but shark teeth I can because I think because of how common they are technically. So, having said that, new species are rare. Associated shark remains should end up in a museum. Bear in mind, fossils aren't collected, disappear to erosion. True. A really great case in point. If I found a Bear Gulch perfectly preserved shark specimen, there's no way I should be keeping that. That belongs in a museum because that is such a one of a kind thing. And we're talking about like a specimen that has like a perfectly articulated skeleton, I mean, but like one of a kind, like not the more common species, but like literally like a one of a kind Cladosolaki something, you know. I think we're all saying the same thing, and I think I'm just kind of rambling because my brain is in that Monday fog, but I think we're all saying the same thing where there's ethical questions about private aquarium trade, if things are made public, like whether that's aquaria or fossils, there's a benefit to that. But if it's private, you get into ethical questions of like, does it belong in your private collection? Does it belong, or is it right for it to be kept away from unseen eyes? And like in the case of animals, is it right for the animal? Is the animal healthy and safe, or is it kind of being really disrupted? And like I feel that way about migratory sharks. So for like the larger ones that are not reef dwelling, I definitely feel some kind of way about that. So for the smaller ones, like this species, so we're gonna hit play again. I'm so sorry. Thank you for your patience on just the ramble. But for smaller species, you can make an argument that they probably fare better than larger ones, as far as like they don't have to really make those great migrations. But still, sharks are actually, compared to other fishes, like large animals that do have pretty large ranges, and you have to be very mindful of what they need as animals. So before even imagining just housing one. So, but the last clip for the Graceful Catshark is this one. We've actually seen this before as a comparison to the Magnificent Catshark, but this one is kind of an adult. So adult or sub-adult. But you can actually kind of tell the fins are quite a bit larger in this individual. This individual has a little bit of girth to him too, so or her, so a little bit stockier. The eyes are proportionally a little bit more, like proportional to the rest of the head. The eyes are a little bit more adjusted, where it's like the baby cat shark had like larger eyes proportional to the head. Baby cat shark looked a lot thinner. The fins are a lot more rounded. Same here, like larger eyes proportional to the head. Fins are rounded, skinnier body. But this adult cat shark, more prominent fins, just larger size overall, bigger girth overall. So, but here is a graceful cat shark just chilling out with a couple other sharks. So these are carpet sharks. Still has those beautiful eyes. Very aware of its surroundings. Just gently pumping water over its gills as it looks around, and a little bit of fin articulation. So kind of propping itself up a little bit, but for the most part, just kind of taking it easy. So. Roy, hello, welcome back. Hope you had a good weekend. Oh, Howard, that's so cool. Also, I'm going to start that comment. And same here. I think... Hold on. I'm going to hit replay. Oh, no ads. This is Googly Eye Trash. We don't need Googly Eye Trash. Sorry. Howard, a good chunk of my collection will go to a museum when I pass. And honestly, same here. So I think for me... and that's extreme. That's beautiful and very noble. So just want to recognize that. That's really phenomenal. And same here. I think the way I see it is, if my descendants, if we have descendants, if my descendants know what this collection is, and if they know and value and actually have a connection with these sharks. Fossils collected from like the Mid-Atlantic region. I think we would keep it so long as that connection is there. Just like as long as that appreciation is there. But if it's not there, if they're like super into different subjects and they don't really, and when there's a resonance there and a connection there, and when it's not there, and no fault if not everybody likes sharks. So if my descendants don't really value the collection, I would definitely give it to a museum. Just as kind of like a, just, which is, and what's kind of funny and interesting about that, and that has happened. Actually, okay, sorry, this gets into museum history. It is such a strange direction, but this gets into museum history. What's interesting about that is actually how many of the most famous museums today have started, where they were private collections of people who actually genuinely loved the science and the research, and then when they passed, or when they were at a certain point in life, they collaborated with people or bequeathed the collection onto something that formed a museum. So I know a lot of the paleontology museums. There was a lot of early dinosaur fossils were in private collections, and they became the foundation of the Peabody Museum in Yale, or I think even the American Museum of Natural History. It all used to be just hobbyists. It used to be people who just found this stuff kind of interesting. I think Thomas Jefferson had a lot of weird natural history stuff. And eventually donated it, but he accumulated a lot of weird stuff, and he's not a great example. There's somebody from Pennsylvania who's an amazing example of this, and I cannot remember who this is. But eventually it became the beginning of the. I really have to look this up. Let's see. I'm gonna look up a few museums really quickly. Oh, Mingus, yes. How would I pray that doesn't happen anytime soon? Roy. Love this cute little icon, Roy. If we have to set... Oh my gosh, yeah. No, please explain museum history. Okay, so let me see. Okay, we're gonna take a little side tangent. And we're gonna do... This is a great Wikipedia thing. So Wikipedia, I don't know how Wikipedia fares with the Utes today, but Wikipedia is one of those things that when I was in school, everybody said don't use it, but low-key use it. It's a good little start. So let's check out. Okay, I'm gonna look up a few collections. Smithsonian Institution. Let's just see the history. Oh, founding. Here you go. Okay, in many ways, the origin of the Smithsonian Institution could be traced to a group of Washington citizens who, being impressed with the knowledge of forming an association of promoting useful knowledge, met in 1816 to establish a Columbian Institute for the promotion of arts and sciences. So, this is not what I'm thinking of, but still pretty interesting. Okay, so not what I'm thinking of, but British scientist James Smithson left most of his wealth to his nephew Henry James Hungerford. When Hungerford died childless in 1835, the estate passed the United States of America to found at Washington under the name of the Smithsonian Institution, an establishment for the increase and diffusion of knowledge among men in accordance with Smithson's will. Okay, so it's kind of an example. Okay, that works. It's not who I'm thinking of specifically, but that kind of works. So Smithsonian, for context, this is the world famous uh, American. Well, how would you describe this group of museums, education and research centers? So all the museums in all the prominent museums in Washington D.C. in the National Mall are Smithsonian. So we actually have two natural history museums in the United States. We have I always get these confused. The National Museum of Natural History is in Washington D.C. The American Museum of Natural History is in New York City. I have a preference. I like both are great. I like both of them. Both are really great, but I have a slight preference for the American one in New York. So don't tell Washington that. But let's check out Peabody Museum. Peabody Museum of Natural History. I want to see the origins of this. This is at Yale University, and I've had the pleasure of visiting once. Which it was actually for like a college tour, and it was really cool to have like a side adventure to this museum and kind of see some amazing fossils, including the Archaeopteryx is here. So history. Here we go. Othniel Charles Marsh was an undergraduate and later professor of paleontology at Yale University. His education was paid for his wealthy uncle George Peabody, who began to donate much of his accumulated wealth to various educational institutions. Marsh and his teams discovered dozens of new genera of dinosaurs and other fossil animals, including Triceratops, Brontosaurus, and Hesperornis. At the request of Marsh to house some of his discoveries, Peabody founded Yale's Museum of Natural History of 1866 with a gift of $150,000. Okay, so this kind of... It's still not quite what I'm looking for, but it's kind of close. Where, like scientists, researchers, hobbyists finding fossils, needing a place to put them, and that's the beginning of the museum. So, I'm trying to think. There's one more. There's one. I know there is one that is just some guy just donated his collection to it, and it's shoot. What is this? I swear it's in Pennsylvania, so we'll just do like I don't know, Pennsylvania natural history. Oh man, what in the world is this place? Is it University of Pennsylvania? There's oh yeah. Yeah. This is the Ivy League. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to check this really briefly, and then we're going to quit, because I know there's some Pennsylvania thing. There's a Pennsylvania collection of things, and I cannot remember what it is, but it's not the Arboretum. Oh. Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology. Yeah, I cannot remember what this is. Anyway, but point being is that a lot of the famous museums that we do have today. Oh, actually, I missed one. The American Museum of Natural History. I actually am curious where the origins of this are. So here we go. Okay, we'll check this and then we're done. History, founding. The naturalist Albert S. Bickmore devised an idea for the American Museum of Natural History in 1861. He was studying in Cambridge, Massachusetts, at Louis Agassiz Museum of Comparative Zoology, observing that many European natural history museums were in populous cities. New York. Bickmore wrote in biography, now New York is our city of greatest wealth and therefore probably the best location for the future Museum of Natural History for our whole land. Yeah, so this is kind of more of a group effort, but I know there's a couple museums that were originally private collections and that became public. So catching up with the comments and Here we go. Here we go. Okay, I want to say you're on the right track when thinking of Pennsylvania. I got to go on a field trip 10 years ago to DC. On the way, we stopped at a museum with something similar to what you described. Okay, what is this place? Hold on. Okay, Natural History Museums in Pennsylvania. Natural History Museums in Pennsylvania. The Carnegie Museum of Natural History, the Academy of Natural Sciences. Okay, we're going to try the Academy of Natural Sciences. Also, I totally misspelled Pennsylvania as well. It's tricky. So, fun fact, Pennsylvania means Penn's Woods. So, right, yes. I forget what language it is. I think it's Dutch, but like Avania is like Vania. If you see something that has Vania in it, it means woods. So there's a place in Virginia called Leesylvania, which is Lee's Woods. So Pennsylvania is Penn's Woods. So kind of fun thing. Let's see, Academy of Natural Sciences. Maybe this is it. I see some dinosaurs. Oh, this might be it. Okay, during the first decades of the United States, Philadelphia was the cultural capital and one of the country's commercial centers. Two of the city's institutions, the Library Company and the American Philosophical Society, were centers of enlightened thought and scientific inquiry. The increasing sophistication of the earth and life sciences, combined with a growing awareness of the variety of life and landscape in the American wilderness that has not been discovered, led a small group of naturalists to establish the Academy of Natural Sciences in the winter of 1812. The Academy was meant to foster a gathering of fellow naturalists and nurture the growth and credibility of American science. They frequently looked to their European counterparts for inspiration and expertise and longed to be regarded as equals. So, yeah, totally random fun note about American history. This was the vibe for a lot of the early days where just like this is actually part of. I know I talk about how I hate the stupid system we have for measuring things like inches and pounds and whatever, and then Europe has the metric system. And part of the reason why this exists is because the United States, when it founded, was culturally extremely similar to Great Britain, because of course it just separated from Great Britain. So there was a huge push to just be different and just to be like, we're not like other countries. And so like there was a huge effort to be like, well, what can we do to make ourselves distinct and yet also equal, but just different, like equally cool, but like different. And so it's interesting that this whole effort to like kind of look at Europe as a model, but do it in a different way. It was kind of like it's interesting. It was a vibe at the time where a lot of American English and the words that formed American English and are unique to American English came out of this period too, where it's like calling a flashlight while the British call it a torch. It's you could say torch, but we like to say flashlight. I'm trying to think of other things. The system of measuring is the biggest one, where it's like we just have this bizarre system that doesn't make any sense, and we've kept it because we want to be different. So, and then like literature, we like the United States when it founded just was really struggling to define itself culturally as unique. It was kind of copying a lot of or importing a lot of like European things, and there was a push in a lot of ways to be distinct and be different, and here we go, so it's interesting reading that note. It kind of ties into, I think, a lot of this push in the 1800s to be like, well, we want to be like Europe, but we don't want to be too much like Europe. We want to be like our own self. I don't know how to describe it. We want to be not like other girls, but kind of like other girls, like a little bit. So yeah. Anyway, I think this is the museum. I'm glad we found it. But I think, a lot of the materials in the collections came from private, or in museum collections came from private collections. But reading those 3 entries in museums, we see that the collections are combining into so there's more coordination than I originally thought. So anyway. Mingus looked it up. First impression is that it's the Carnegie Museum, but again, it's been 10 plus years, so I'm likely wrong. But I get what you mean. Earlier archaeology was seemingly built off of private and national collections. Yes, so awesome. Okay, so that was a really fun tangent. I'm glad we did that, and we'll get back to tonight's shark. So. Again, this is the Mandarin Catshark, which I mentioned last week, and we're still trying to figure out, is this a new species or is this a morph? And I think it's a morph. This article came out in 2015, and it's from a private aquarium trade website, so I don't really give it a lot of credibility. It's not a scientific publication, and I haven't seen any scientific publications acknowledging the Mandarin Catshark. And because this is 2015 and there's no record of a Mandarin Catshark, I think this is just a color morph of a different kind of existing catshark in the same genus. So that's why we pivoted to the Graceful Catshark. So this is the same genus, and they actually have photos of it here. So there's the Graceful Catshark right here, which is tonight's species. I know I said Mandarin Catshark last week, and the reason I did is in that video that we watched comparing all the shark sizes, this was such a striking image. It was like, oh, that's really cool. I'd love to cover the Mandarin Catshark. And then doing some more research, it looks like this is actually maybe a mutation, maybe a morph of the Magnificent Catshark or the Graceful Catshark. And we're just doing the Graceful Catshark because there's no other documentation on Mandarin Catshark. It might not be a legitimately separate species yet, or at all. So, but for the Graceful Catshark, we were starting to read fish space right at the top of the stream. So the name Proscyllium habereri, Proscyllium means pro, in front of, so probably referring to the far forward placement of the dorsal fin. Compare with Scyllium, so it's in front of Scylerinus. So there's a genus of catsharks called Scylerinus, and this catshark, Proscyllium, has dorsal fins further up on the body than Scylerinus catsharks, so that's a way to tell them apart from Scylerinus catsharks. Habereri, the species name, is in honor of German physician, anthropologist, and natural history collector Karl Albert Haberer, who collected the first specimen in 1904. So, let's see some notes here. This is a species that lives in 50 to 100 meters. So it's a sunlit zone species, but kind of on the deeper side. It lives in the western Pacific, southeastern Japan to Vietnam, and northwest Java, Indonesia. A little known, uncommon bottom-dwelling shark found on the shelves of continental and insular waters. Dwell on the sublittoral zone, 30 to 320 meters. Food habits little known, probably feeding on bony fish, crustaceans, and cephalopods. Oviparous, which is egg-laying, with 1 to 2 pups in a litter. So, that's actually very small. For an egg-laying shark, that's actually a very, very small litter size. And for a shark in general, that's really small too. So, Mingus, yes. I feel like I've said this before, and I'm going to start this comment. But a lot of catsharks seem to suffer heavily from some sort of, this species can have super different patterns, colors, itis. Yes. So, and I think you're right. And it also gets back to, color is typically not a great way to tell sharks apart. It depends, but like, it typically, color alone is typically not the right way to tell sharks apart. Shape and placement of fins is a better way to tell sharks apart. So, but I really love that comment relative to the cat sharks. So, let's see. Some other names for this species are, well, in English it's just Graceful Catshark. In Spanish it's Tolo Coludo Gracil. And then French is Requin-chat Gracil. I'm curious if we can get any. We don't have any images of teeth. we do have, or Jaws, but we do have images from our good friend Andy Mert on sharksarrays.com. So I'm going to reposition this so people can see. There we go. So really nice shot of a graceful cat shark chilling on a reef. And it's really cool to see photographs of this animal in life, in its natural setting. And it's still kind of doing the same thing that we saw in the aquarium clip. So it's actually perched on its pectoral fins. You can kind of see by the shadow here. So it's actually laying flush against the seabed until we get to the head and the pectoral fins, where it's kind of like sitting perched on those fins, looking up a little bit. So it's really cool to see one in life. And then reading Andy's descriptions. Identification, it's a slender body cat shark, snout relatively short with a rounded tip. Large square anterior nasal flaps almost reach mouth with gradient snout. So these are actually like really specific measurements. Dorsal coloration creamy bluish white with dark spots and diffuse reddish brown saddles and blotches. So maximum size is 65 centimeters, so pretty small shark overall. Conservation status is currently vulnerable. Here's a really fantastic shot of two graceful cat sharks just kind of chilling out close to each other. It's actually really cool to see how they're sitting at this angle right here. And I know that might sound silly, but it's kind of interesting to see that they are perpendicular to one another, and that this individual in the back is actually, the snout is near the tail of this individual. So one interesting thing about sharks, it depends on the species, but they can exhibit a lot of behaviors in schooling. Tailing is one of them, or circling is one of them, but tailing is when a shark is actually following another shark, where its head is oriented to the other shark's tail. So that's a specific behavior that's been observed in bonnethead sharks, and we don't know, I don't think we know exactly why they do that, but it could be related to a social hierarchy, because bonnetheads do have social hierarchies where large female bonnethead sharks dominate the social hierarchy. And so I don't think that's what's going on here, because cat sharks are not schooling animals. They do live in association with one another, but they're not like actively swimming in schools. But so I don't think it's a social thing per se, but I do find it really interesting that these two individuals are just, they could be anywhere in the frame, but but for whatever reason they're here in this perpendicular shape, and the head of this shark is at the tail of the other shark. So I think that's really interesting, and I don't know, I think it'd be kind of interesting if we see more photographs to see if there's something to kind of make from that. So catching up on comments. I like how these cat sharks have a more sharky look to them. They're smooth hound hybrid of some kind. Yes, Roy, I love that comment, because that's one thing that makes this group unique, because there's the Scylorhinidae, which are like the classic cat sharks. They have like kind of smooth backs, and their fins are further back on the body. So let's check out one of them. This one is the most famous one for me, at least. Is and it depends where you live, but if you live on the east coast of the U.S., this one is probably a very familiar species. This is the chain cat shark, Scylorhinus radifer, and it's actually, this is a classic cat shark look. So Scylorhinidae is the family, Scylorhinus is the genus, where the back is very smooth. The second dorsal fin is behind the pelvic fins. Or sorry, the first dorsal fin is behind the pelvic fins. The second dorsal fin is kind of almost behind the anal fin, and they're both really far back on the body. But when you compare it to Proscyllium, which is Proscyllidae, a different cat shark family, the graceful cat shark's first dorsal fin is in front of the pelvic fins. The second dorsal fin is kind of in a similar position as Scylorhinidae, but the first dorsal fin is further up along the body, so it does have a very different look. And this is similar to kind of like hound sharks. So if we look at one of the most famous hound sharks is a leopard shark. So this is for the west coast of the United States and Canada. or I guess the United States. I think these guys just live in California, but the leopard shark is a classic hound shark, and it also has its dorsal fins. Its first dorsal fin in front of its pelvic fin. Second dorsal fin is right above the anal fin. But this has a bit of a stockier look. It kind of looks like, you know, an intermediary between cat sharks and like the big requiem sharks, like bull sharks. So it's kind of cool to see that somewhere between this and this is this. So Proscyllium is a family of cat sharks that's in between the classic cat shark Scalaridae and the hound sharks Triachidae. It's kind of like this cool in between family. So it's really cool to see that physically, like morphologically, where it has a lot of the cat shark features, like the just like the slenderness, the length of the body, kind of less active of a swimmer, tends to just lay around on the seabed. But it also has prominent dorsal fins, and the first dorsal fin is further up on the body. So really cool to see it. So check out Andy's conservation notes. So conservation status vulnerable. The Graceful Catshark lives in an area of intensive ground fisheries. No catch-specific data exists for the species, but is probably a bycatch species in trawl, seine net, and gill net fisheries. Although the graceful cat sharks are thought to be relatively common in Taiwan, general landings of lazarbranchs in Japan, China, South Korea, and Vietnam, exclusive economic zones, indicate declines of 34 to 96% over the past 3 generation lengths. So, my favorite part about Andy's website is the dive notes. So, reaction to divers. Graceful cat sharks are rarely encountered by divers, which makes sense because they live in pretty deep water for a scuba diver. Difficult to approach, usually bolts when discovered, but may remain stationary for a few seconds. The best place to look for graceful cat sharks is off Cape Cuomo in Ehime Prefecture on the southwest corner of Shikoku Island, Japan. The cold winter months are the best time to look for the species, but even in the winter it is only seen 1 to 2 times a month. So this is a difficult shark to encounter. It's a cold water species inhabiting rocky and sandy substrates on the continental shelf and upper slope. Recorded as occurring from 50 to 320 meters, but this species is occasionally seen by divers in 30 meters on the west coast of Shikoku Island, Japan. Likely occurs deeper in warmer climates. So what's interesting is that this is this is definitely a shark that only advanced scuba divers can encounter. So 30 meters is advanced open water. So I personally cannot currently meet this shark because I am an open water scuba diver. So my depth limit is 18 meters. Beyond 18 meters, I would have to get additional training because that starts to get a little bit more dangerous from a scuba diving perspective. And there's a lot of reasons why, but you start to kind of get into, like, you need more experience to be more comfortable going deeper, but you start to get into interesting factors like nitrogen narcosis a little bit, where the deeper you go, the weirder you feel. It's almost akin to feeling a little bit intoxicated. So it's also known as the rapture of the deep. So the deeper you go as a scuba diver, the less capable you become, and that's also where it's the most critical. So it's kind of cool to see that this shark is for advanced scuba divers, and I'm not there yet, and I don't think I would ever be there personally because I like the shallows. I like staying in the shallows, but it's kind of cool to see that this shark is a species for advanced diving. So this is like diving level 5 to meet this shark. So, just because it lives so deep. Lives in Northwest Pacific and Indian Oceans. Same thing, I'm just reading through these other notes. Egg laying, 1 egg per oviduct at a time, little else is known. The graceful cat shark feeds on small bony fishes, crustaceans, cephalopods. Poorly known behavior, enters shallower water during the winter months. So. And we're going to check out some photos of the species. So, and I also want to catch up with the comments. Love these comments. Oh, Roy, yes, yes. I wouldn't be surprised if they happen to be close in relation to taxonomic tree. You're right. You're right. Cat sharks. I hopefully I think there's a paper that we may have that we'll be able to kind of see how the sharks relate phylogenetically. But this family Proscyllidae is the finback cat sharks, and they're kind of like actually just as they look like they're right in between Scalaridae and Triachidae, like cat sharks and hound sharks. That's exactly where they are on the evolutionary tree. So they're actually right in the middle too. So, like, if you go from like the noodliest to the most robust, you have cat sharks, finback cat sharks, and hound sharks. And then if you go from the most ancient to the most recent, you have cat sharks, finback cat sharks, and hound sharks. So it's the same thing. So it's actually a really cool example of how physiology or phenotype sometimes reflects genotype. So like just as these sharks like physically look in this interesting way, where you have like the dorsal fin. Like you have the hound sharks with the dorsal fin further up the body, the cat sharks with the dorsal fin down on the body, and the finback cat sharks, which are somewhere in between. Just as that's how they look physically, like their phenotype. It's really cool to see that evolutionarily, like genetically, that's how they place too. So like the finback cat sharks are genetically actually in the middle, somewhere between the hound sharks and the classic cat sharks, like the Scalaridae. So it's really cool to see that. So just checking out some more photos from Andy Merck. I think he had the same individual in this view, just different angles of him. But just kind of, it's cool to see the behavior where it's just, and I'm curious what this perching behavior is for. It's kind of cool to see that this shark is doing this, but epaulet sharks also do this too. And epaulet sharks are in a completely different order, but they're in a similar habitat where they do live in kind of like rocky areas. So don't know if the perching is an adaptation related to that environment. So, and here's a cool comparison where in this photograph the shark is perching where the pectoral fins are articulated, so it's kind of like it's doing push-ups, right? But in this photograph, pectoral fins are flat, so the shark is actually more flush with the seabed in this photograph. So it's also really cool to see how the pupils shrink into this tiny little black dot as the photographer is taking a picture. And you can actually see one of the finback cat sharks in the background too here. So right back there is another finback cat shark at a distance. So I think these are all multiple photos of the same individual. Oh, and is that it? Is it just 4 photos? I think it's just 4 photos. But still, really beautiful, amazing quality. Really cool view of the habitat too, where in this particular location, you've got kind of like a pebbly, shelly seabed with these really cool deep water corals in the back. Yep. Very cool corals. Not a coral reef, but still corals nearby. Yeah. Really awesome stuff. So we'll take a look at the IUCN Red List to learn about the conservation status of the graceful cat shark, and I'll see if I can zoom out so you can see the full thing. Okay, that didn't really help. There we go. Okay, that's a little better. So, petition to have from most nucleus to most robust a genuine standard of measurement. So what's kind of funny is that the most nucleus would be the frilled shark, and the most robust would probably be a rough shark, like the literal eel versus the literal football, which is kind of funny. And it's kind of cool to see that like sharks have such diversity in their body forms. So I think overall Carchariniforms as a group, and actually I wonder if we could find, we're going to go back to Wikipedia really briefly, because this might have a nice diagram of this actually before I elaborate. Shoot. Let's do Carcharodontiform family tree. Families. Carcharodontiform's families. I want to get like a nice chart of that shows how physically different Carcharodontiforms are. And I don't think we're gonna get it, unfortunately. But if you were to have a visual of the Carcharodontiforms, like of how, all the families, you actually do get into this interesting zone of the newliest to the biggest, like to the thickest, where at the basal end of the tree you have the cat sharks, which are very long and like noodly. I should use a better word, but you have the cat sharks, which are very elongate, and then as you go up the phylogeny of Carcharodontiforms, you get into like slowly kind of shorter, girthier, more robust, more kind of like active swimming, more powerful sharks that actually start to kind of handle larger and larger prey items. So you get up the tree through the finback cat sharks to the hound sharks to eventually the requiem sharks. So there's like sandbar sharks and bull sharks are requiem sharks. And then hammerheads are kind of like a very bizarre offshoot of essentially like the same root as requiem sharks, really. But there's not a great visual of it. If there was, that would have been cool to see. But anyway. Let's see. Love these comments. So Graceful Catshark, ICR list is confirming that it's a vulnerable species, unfortunately. So it's not the worst status, but it's not a good status. So there's something kind of and having only 2 pups, so laying eggs, only 2 eggs is very, very small. Like sharks in general, as we all know, they're very they don't produce as many offspring as other animals. And the right way to think about it is think about how a lot of bony fish are endangered, right? But they literally spawn thousands to, in some cases, like millions of eggs. It depends on the species, but there's some bony fish that are like endangered, and they literally will have like there's thousands and thousands of eggs. Whereas sharks, they are going through some conservation challenges, but they only have like the most prolific shark is the blue shark, and that has maybe 100 pups. But most sharks average between like 10 and 20, maybe. And then to have like 1 or 2, it's unusual, even for sharks. That's unusually low as far as the number of offspring. In another comparison, the only other shark I know of that has only 2 pups is the sand tiger shark, and that is a critically endangered species, unfortunately. So this is probably a factor in terms of why this shark is vulnerable, but we'll take a look. The Graceful Catshark is a small cat shark that occurs from Japan to Indonesia in the northwest and west central Pacific and eastern Indian Oceans at depths of 50 to 320 meters. The Graceful Catshark is subject to intense fishing pressure across its range. The species is likely taken as bycatch in industrial and artisanal net fisheries, with multiple gears including trawl, seine net, gill net, and torchlight net. I've never heard of torchlight net. Interesting. What is torchlight net? I'm assuming it's not specifying, so I'm assuming it's some kind of net, but there's like torches used with it, which is interesting because any kind of light is actually, like at night, any kind of light is an attractant to fish, and you have to actually be kind of a little careful with it. As an example, I would go to some parts of the Chesapeake Bay at night, and I'm I'm sure my wife would not like hearing this, but like I would go to some parts of the Chesapeake Bay at night and just kind of wade in shallow water with a very shallow water with a flashlight, and the light actually was an extremely what's the word effective attractant for a lot of bait fish. So I would just shine a light in the water, and it would have a very interesting effect on the fish, where they would actually start becoming really active. They would swim really erratically almost, and to the point where I felt bad, and I shut the light off because I didn't want to like really bother them. Like it was specifically a mix of anchovies and silver sides. And what was interesting is that activity started to draw in needlefish. Needlefish are larger predatory fish that hunt anchovies and silver sides. So light is an attractant. And actually, if you can even see it if you go to like a dock, like a fishing pier or a dock. It depends on the place, but they will actually have like lights underwater. And if you stare at the lights, you'll see a lot of fish are very attracted to it and will actually come into the light. And there's just something about it that draws them, and then that in turn draws larger fish. So, Min just noted for next time I really want to find some fishies. I generally thought that only bugs were attracted to that. So anytime you're in the ocean, the things the things that attract fish are light and structure. So like if you're at night, a light is going to work. If you are if you are kind of near a pier, a piling, or if you see something floating like driftwood, chances are there's something near it. And Blue Planet did a really good special, or not special, but like Blue Planet featured that and had a really good demonstration of that, where it was this interesting analysis of plastic, or just like I think it was in Blue Planet 2, where they had just a fish net drifting in the open sea, and that's like something that typically is used to catch fish and is like a horrible destructive thing. But this fish net became biofouled, and it had all of this like growth on it, and it started to become like turn into this like floating habitat that attracted little fish, then bigger fish, and then eventually like a lot of animals kind of like started to gravitate towards it. So that's a long-winded way of saying structure is something that fish really like. Light is something that fish really like. As far as dangerous stuff, shiny things is something that fish really like, and this is why for diving and snorkeling and swimming, you don't wear shiny jewelry in the water, because a lot of fish will charge at it and be really, just because they think it's something glittering that they can eat. And then low frequency sounds. So this is also something I've tried before, but like which I don't do this now. It's not a good idea. But and I don't recommend doing this, honestly. It's like I don't recommend doing what I'm about to say, because it's a really bad idea. But if you take a water bottle and you fill it halfway, I think it doesn't matter how much water is in it, but you can, like, I used to do this, like, with just the water bottle filled halfway, but you can have water in it. I think you can have it empty. The big thing you need is that you have to make sure that some air is like let out of it. If you take a water bottle and have it at a point where it's kind of like slightly crumpled, and you cap it off and you submerge it in water and you start squeezing it, you make these really deep low frequency sounds, and it's something that does attract animals. So I've done it a couple times, and it's a really bad idea because I like because sharks love low frequency sounds, and that's why I did it, because I wanted to meet some sharks. But it's a really bad idea because sharks really do love low frequency sounds. And if my wife was watching, I did this when I was a teenager. This is dumb, stupid teenage stuff. This is not relevant now. But the one time I did do it, I did attract pufferfish. What was this? Burrfish specifically. So I was like kind of like doing this technique underwater, and I had a burrfish swim up to me because they were attracted to the sounds, because it was like an interesting noise. So low frequency sounds are something that attracts animals. So these are weird little things that I've learned through experience that actually like attract animals to you. So so the water bottle technique I don't recommend, because it probably actually is a bit effective, and it's something that sharks like, so don't do that. Jewelry is a big one that is kind of like a really good rule to know. Like, don't wear jewelry. Do not wear jewelry when you're swimming, because and actually, especially if you're in barracuda country, like if you're in the tropical parts of the world, barracudas love that stuff, and it's something you don't want to do around them. Because they think it's little fish and they will charge at you and take a bite. So no jewelry. Don't do the water bottle thing. Yes to lights if you're in a safe setting, or if you're kind of at a dock, you look at light underwater. Fish are very attracted to it. And then yes to, what was the other thing I said? Oh, structure. Fish like structure. So whether that's a piling or something floating, or like any kind of like reef of any kind, any kind of structure, some fish like that habitat. So, and just random bits of lore. So yes, Roy, I'm gonna star that. Barracudas are the magpies of the sea. Yes, that's a yes, 100%. And like sharks like shiny things too, but not to the same degree as barracudas. Barracudas are the big one. So yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's kind of fun. I love this comment, Mingus, because I really wish this stuff was made more publicly available. Like I wish this stuff was kind of more. Ooh. Sorry, I just saw. Sorry. So on your comment of just like little fun facts about the ocean, I wish this stuff was kind of more public knowledge. And what is really interesting in a bizarre way, we talked about a couple months ago the relationship between fisheries and scientists to the ocean, and there is a very interesting dynamic where like commercial fishing is very destructive. It is. So I'm not really talking about commercial fishing. I think I'm talking about more small scale fishing, like I guess artisanal fishing. This is more for that. Like Waterman and Chesapeake Bay, it's kind of more like that. But people who live on the water and make a living on the water and spend a lot of time on the water, they've observed some of these things, or they experience some of these things, and they actually have these like little weird nuggets of knowledge. That sometimes that just is not recorded, and I love having these conversations, because these are like the little tidbits here and there that it's not in a television special, it's not in a book, it's just like a random thing, and it's experience, so I say that just to say that, like, whether it's fishing or just like people just enjoying just a hobby on the water, just being on the water, like paddleboarding, or in my case, like snorkeling and scuba diving, just actually being there, you pick up on things and you see things and you have knowledge, and it's valuable. And I say that because I think sometimes it could be very, like when you see like on like nature specials or literature, the same information repeated over and over again, it could be a little dissuading. Like, oh, I guess that's it. I guess that's all you need to know about the ocean. Like, I don't know, just like I remember when I was younger, I started to feel like that. I was like, wow, I know there's more to the ocean, but I just feel like the same thing is getting regurgitated over and over again. And it's really cool to learn that as time has gone on, and as you accumulate more experiences, you just see a lot, like an unbelievable myriad of things, and coming from different sources, like coming from different completely different avenues that each contribute in some way. So science contributes in a way, experience contributes in a way, literature contributes in a way. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see how things like synthesize together. And my favorite part about that is like no one thing necessarily privatizes knowledge. It's kind of like there's different avenues to learn like a fully formed have a fully formed experience. So yeah, so kind of rambling, but there's another comment that I saw here that was really cool. Now starting to wonder, is bioluminescent algae have anything to do with the initial evolution of fish go to light? Ooh, oh, this is interesting. So, okay, I like this a lot. That's a great comment, Ninjas, because it gets into like what makes light attractive. And when you think of like Twilight Zone fish or animals, like why is light something that they like, you know, or well, not dislike, actually. Light is something that draws animals in, and light is used sometimes as like a distraction or a communication, and it's really cool to think about, actually. So I love that comment. So yeah, no, that's a great question. For shallow water bioluminescent algae, I'm not sure, but they are bioluminescent really only at night. So I guess that actually kind of I think there might be a connection there. And then for bioluminescence in the deep sea, I think there definitely is a connection there. So that's actually really cool. So great comment. Let's see. For the Graceful Catshark, part of this was torchlight. We're talking about torchlight. So here we go. So that's where I left off. The species is considered common in Taiwan, where the population is inferred to have remained stable for the past 15 years. And the abundance in one part of China is inferred to have also remained stable over the past 20 years. Landings data of all sharks combined from the Taiwan Exclusive Economic Zone and reconstructed catches of all sharks, skates, and rays from the Japan, China, South Korea, and Vietnam Exclusive Economic Zones indicate declines of 34 to 96% over the past 3 generation lengths, or 45 years. These levels of declines are not species-specific, but are informative for understanding the broader levels of decline in sharks in the region. Declines of the species are inferred in Indonesia due to high levels of fishing pressure and declines in many lazarink species in the region. Stable population abundance in Taiwan and in one part of China over the past 15 to 20 years, respectively, indicates some resilience to fishing pressure. Okay, so there's some resilience, which is good. So the stable populations in Taiwan and China are positive signs because, again, this shark only has 1 or 2 pups. It lays only 1 or 2 eggs, and the fact that there's actually some stability in some heavily fished parts of the world is encouraging. But seasonal fishing bans and inshore trawl bans in China and Taiwan, respectively, would provide the species some refuge from fishing pressure. It is inferred that the Graceful Catshark has undergone a population reduction of 30 to 49% over the past 45 years due to high levels of exploitation and inferred population stability in some parts of its range, and is assessed as vulnerable. So it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the best. As a comparison, I know I keep saying bull sharks everywhere, but like bull sharks are a vulnerable species. What else is vulnerable? I think nurse sharks are vulnerable species. Let's see. Yep, nurse sharks are vulnerable. So yeah, bull sharks, nurse sharks, graceful cat sharks, kind of the same tier of conservation. So, but it's encouraging that there's some resilience. It's just like that. Again, having 1 or 2 pups that's really, really low as far as sharks go. So, yeah. Mr. Proscyllium habereri, stay strong, please. Love that comment. And I'm glad that we're talking about this species because this is my favorite part, or one of my favorite parts of the stream, is the fact that when's the last time you've seen Graceful Catshark on TV or in a book? It's not really a well-known species, so it's really nice to have a moment to kind of like take a look at it and see how it's doing, and just have a record of like, yeah, we talked about a vulnerable shark species that maybe not a lot of people are talking about, and that's a cool thing where it's like, now a handful of more people know about it, and they can share with their friends and so on and so forth. So it's cool. It's my favorite part. One of my favorite parts of the stream is like shedding light on some shark species that don't get a lot of attention. So we talk about the big ones, like the famous ones, like great whites and great hammerheads and Greenland sharks. Well, maybe not Greenland sharks, and some people still don't know what those are. But great whites and hammerheads, they get all the attention in the world. And then I love that we talk about these guys, like kind of like these smaller sharks that are very cool, but not a lot of coverage. So we're gonna dive into some research, and also I have one more thing kind of came to mind about light. By the way, so actually no, two more things came to mind about light. So as we're talking about fish attractants. So, the first thing, as far as like shiny things go, it makes sense that barracuda love going after jewelry because the jewelry look like a silver side or a anchovy turning in its school, and like a bait ball of fish. When they turn in a school in sunlight, their scales are very iridescent, so they look shiny. So it makes sense that jewelry mimics something that looks like a prey item, and that's what fish go after. The other thing that is relevant to this conversation, like about light, is the moon. So moonlight, and it's kind of cool talking about it now because we have a full moon tonight. Moonlight is a huge attractant for a lot, or like not a huge attractant, I would just say a huge stimulant for a lot of marine animals, where a lot of interesting things happen in moonlight. A lot of mating actually like is timed in sequence with full moons or new moons, or just the phases of the moon. So some animals use the illumination of the moonlight for whatever their mating thing is, and I think this sounds really gross, but like marine worms do that. I think I want to say it's surgeonfish. I could be wrong about that, but I think it's surgeonfish do that. But there's some fishes and invertebrates that will actually use the moonlight and time their mating with moonlight. And with that is a congregation of animals that actually creates abundance. It actually creates like an opportunity for predation. That it's like it's a unique gathering of animals, and so it's kind of like a unique monthly phase that just draws a lot of animals in. So it's kind of cool to think about. And then other animals will use how the moon affects the tides. Hold on. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's how gross sick as fish biology. I love that. Love his comments. Similarly, as far as moonlight goes, and the tides go, so the full moon and the new moon. So when the moon is the brightest and the moon is the darkest, it has the strongest pull on the tides. So it's the highest high and the lowest low. So it's the biggest change in tides. Which are spring tides. The neap tides, which are like the quarter moons, like the first quarter and third quarter, that's like the gentlest fluctuation in tides. And in those periods, that's a great opportunity for sea turtles to come to shore to lay their eggs. So, because they like having as little fluctuation as possible so that they can come in and lay their eggs in the summer months. So it's really cool to think about, like, and I'm going from rabbit hole to rabbit hole, but it's kind of cool to think about like how the light of the moon affects mating events. The phase of the moon affects how animals actually kind of complete the circle of life and come back to shore. I don't know if anybody's a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but that show, which is fantastic and one of my favorites, it goes into like how like nature and like how nature affects the elements and everything. And like there's a very strong relationship between water and the moon in that series, and I love how accurate that is, and grounded that is, because that's literally what it is in real life, which is just like the moon and the ocean are always connected and have a profound relationship. So it's super cool. But we'll get into some research for the Graceful Catshark, and then I think we'll also pick next week's shark. So please let me know in the comments if there is a group of sharks, like a shark species or a group of sharks you'd like to learn more about. I think a group of sharks at this point, it might be better to start talking about groups of sharks, because we're starting to kind of like cover. This is episode 135, so it's kind of amazing to think that we've covered so many species that it might be. Oh, this is cool. In my marine biology class, I learned the basics of moon phases influence some animals' biology, but only example that was given details turtles. Thank you for explaining how it works. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. No, that's awesome. I'm gonna start that. And I really love like just like the lunar phases and the seasonal phases, like just how they summon so many changes. Like speaking of the seasons, October is a really big month for this part of the ocean, where a lot of animals, a lot of sharks, I should say, have already made their migration south, and the water is getting colder. So we don't have bull sharks or hammerheads anymore. They're gone. They are at least in the Mid-Atlantic region. They have moved back to the Carolinas and Florida. So it's cool to see it like just change in nature and how dynamic nature is. But sorry, I could keep rambling on, and I need to focus on. This species. I'm definitely having this. I'm having a fun Monday, but I'm definitely having a Monday where my brain is like kind of sleeping all over the place. But yeah, I think what's kind of cool is for moving forward, because we've covered so many sharks already, is we should maybe as far as suggestions for a new stream, we'll keep it to kind of like a group level, where it's like maybe we do more finback cat sharks, or an angel shark, or a bullhead shark, some kind of shark like that, and then I'll pick the species. Unless there's a specific species you 100% know we haven't covered yet. But I think we're getting to the point where we've covered so many at this point that it might be easier to do like a genus or a family, and then I could pick a species from that. So that might be a better way to organize it. So, which is kind of cool. So, but let me know if there's a group of sharks you'd like to cover in the chat, and then I'll see what is available for next week. So, but here's a description of the Graceful Catshark family Proscyllidae. This family has 3 genera. This is Tenacious, which was established in 1973. Aerodacnus in 1913, and Proscyllium in 1904. So I think this is a little bit out of date, because we have a few Proscyllium now. So we have the magnificent cat shark that we covered. So I think there's actually new species that were discovered after this description. So we'll keep moving. And this might be up really good. The combined phylogeny new classification of cat sharks. So, ooh, Bruce, welcome back. What about shark behaviors is an episode about spy hopping. Ooh. I ran out of suggestions since episode 7. I've been relying on Howard Roy for suggestions ever since Fairball. So yeah, actually, that's really cool. I think we could try that. Spy hopping is going to be tricky to find material. Actually, let's do this. So I think we could definitely try that. And let's do a hound. Yeah, let's do a kind of hound shark, because the 2 times I've heard, there's actually 2 or 3 times I've heard of shark spy hopping. There's great whites do it, hound sharks do it, and I think dogfish do it, but I know like dusky smoothhounds do it. So I'm gonna pull up a cousin of a dusky smoothhound, and that might be a. Let's see. Wow, there's actually so many hound sharks. That might be a good species to cover. To dive into spy hopping behavior. So let's do. Done story, smooth hound. Gray smooth hound might be kind of good because this one's from California. So, and I think there might be because it's California has like a lot of marine research, so I think that might be a good species where we might get some spy hopping behavior. So here we go, gray smooth hound. Okay, so gray smooth hound, Musculus californicus, plus spy hopping. Okay, so that's a really good suggestion. So thank you, Bruce. So we'll cover the gray smooth hound next week, and then focus on spy hopping because I know smooth hounds do it, and kind of see what research there is related to it. It's going to be tricky to find, but I think we'll be able to pull some stuff up because it is such an unusual behavior, and I know there's like video of it. So, at least as far as smooth hounds go, so I'm excited to learn more about it. So, oh yeah, so yeah. Sorry, love this comment. Ninjas talking about shark general marine animal behavior in relation to lunar phases. Yes, so I would love to read like a shark lunar study. By the way, I'm sure there's maybe a couple at least because it all cascades whereas the moon has an effect on animal aggregations like fish and invertebrates. There's a lot of predators that pay attention to those aggregations, and sharks of course would be no exception. So it'd be really really cool to see a study like that. I've not seen one yet, but I think there probably is a few floating around as far as sharks and their coincides with lunar phases. So, but I think this might be kind of worthwhile to check out. Combined phylogeny and new classification of cat sharks. So this is from 2021 by Carla D.A. Soares and Kleber Mathubara. This is the first study to combine morphological and molecular characters to infer the phylogenetic relationships among cat sharks. All currently valid genera classified in the family Sclerorhinidae and representatives of other carcharinoid families, plus one lamnoid and two erectoloboids, were included as terminal taxa. A total of 143 morphological characters and 44 NADH2 sequences were analyzed. Parsimony analyses under different weighting schemes and strengths were used to generate hypotheses of phylogenetic relationships. The phylogenetic analysis of 78 terminal taxa using the combined dataset and weighting each column separately resulted in one most parsimonious cladogram of 4,441 steps, with the greatest internal resolution of clades and strongest support. The main changes in nomenclature and classification are the revised definition and scope of Sclerorhinidae, Apisturus and Pentantius, and the revelation of Atelomictoridae. So this is a long-winded way of saying that we took a hard look at the cat sharks and realized a lot of them are a little bit more unique and different than originally than what we originally thought. So much so that we had to make a brand new cat shark family, which is Atelomictoridae. The monophyly of Pentantidae is supported, as is that of most cat shark genera. So this is relevant to the graceful catshark, tonight species. The family that it belongs to makes sense. Two new subfamilies in the family Pentantidae are defined. Not Pentantidae, Proscyllidae. Never mind. Forget what I just said. Sorry. Now I'm even getting confused on cat sharks. Pentantidae are defined, Halyleurinae subfamily, and Galeanae subfamily. Our analysis emphasizes the relevance of morphological characters and the inference of the evolutionary history of carcharinoids and sheds a light on the taxonomic status of some genera in need of further explanation or exploration. So. A quote from Shark People. Two quotes from White in 1936. Variation in the catuloids is so extreme as to make distinction even between genera difficult, and a study of the phylogenetic characters is of utmost importance, therefore, in establishing relationships. So this is kind of cool in relation to this, where originally we were trying to talk about this shark tonight, and this might not be a species. This might be just something like a morph or something. So it's kind of cool to see how it relates to the idea that cat sharks are just difficult as far as like telling apart or understanding their evolutionary relationships. Subdivisions in the Scalaridae should be based on broad pattern interrelationships rather than superficial similarities and differences in few characters. This is from Capagno in 1988 or 1988. That's a really, really important shark researcher. So I'm just going to skim through this part. I won't go into detail, but cat sharks are a well-known group of carcharodontiforms, traditionally grouped in the family of Scalaridae by sharing the character of their first dorsal fins situated posterior to the pelvic fins. Scalaridae comprises 18 genera and 160 currently valid species of colorful and small-sized sharks found on and near the bottom in almost all seas from cold to tropical waters except the Antarctic. They represent about a quarter of the living shark species, and many new species have been described in the recent years. 42 cat sharks are described over the past 2 decades. So they're talking about how there's a lot of debate of how the cat sharks relate to one another. So I'm just going to skip ahead to Proscyllium. Let's see. Oh yeah, Minjas just saw this comment. Didn't even know it was a thing until Bruce said it. Had to look it up. So yeah, so spy hopping. I don't know why dogfish or cat sharks do it personally, but white sharks, it's this really interesting thing where if this is the water line, the shark would hold its head up the water and kind of look around a little bit, and the idea is for a white shark, which is a seal hunter, and it's hunting an animal that spends half its time in the water and half its time on rocks. The idea of a spy hopping shark is that it's able to kind of ascertain where the seals are, verify that seals are there, and then can go back in the water and kind of linger in that area. That's kind of the hypothesis. I don't know, and it's a really cool one. I don't know how much or little research has been done on testing that, but it's really cool if it's turns out to be legit. So I'm excited for next week as far as what we can learn from that. So let's see. Oh, sorry, I think my music kind of died a little bit. So oh well. We're getting close to the end anyway, but just kind of moving forward to any notes on Proscyllium, which is the genus of the graceful catshark. This is kind of interesting. So these are kind of, I know these are kind of like unpleasant looking images, but this is the one thing that unites cat sharks with other carcharodontiforms is the nictitating membrane. So it's actually kind of cool to see it very prominently here in this sharp-nosed shark. So this is not a cat shark. This is a kind of Requin shark. So the nictitating membrane is that protective eye covering. So it's right here in this photograph. For cat sharks, it's also here. It's kind of a little bit subtler looking, but it's there. Same here. There's a nictitating membrane, but It's not as prominent looking as in the sharpened shark, but it's kind of cool to see it, where it's the one feature that unites these two very distant looking groups. So some more comparisons. These are all preserved specimens, but comparisons of what are mostly cat sharks. This one is a epaulet shark right here, actually, so it's a completely different group. This is used as an outlier comparison. But, what is figure D? This is Galeus cat shark. It's kind of interesting that the eye is so far back on the body compared to other species. So. Just goes into like really cool like detailed conocranium. So this study goes into like really detailed morphological features. So I just kind of want to get to the broad overview. Yeah, so this is like looking at every single character. So, oh, here we go. Is this the final tree? Let's see. Oh yeah, this is it. Okay. So as far as the cat shark family goes, it's the top left tree here, where you have cat sharks are this group of blue, green, and orange sharks. So they are nested within other galeomorphs. So we talked about squalomorphs and galeomorphs, as the two major subdivisions of sharks, and then other carcharinoids. So these are Requin sharks, hammerhead sharks. These would be over here. All other shark, or sorry, not all other sharks. Other galeomorphs like great white sharks or whale sharks live over here. So cat sharks are in this kind of like little pocket here, and it's kind of cool to see that the scalorhinids, like the classic cat sharks, like this one right here, oops, they were the first to kind of branch off, and then atelomictorids were later, pentangids were later, and let's see, it looks like the trying to find Proscyllium, which is our graceful cat shark. Oh, here we go. Graceful cat sharks, which are the finback cat sharks, these are actually even more distant from each other. So they actually are in a more distantly related family. So they've been kind of like squarely removed from the cat shark, the core of like what we typically define cat sharks, like the scale rides and stuff. So yeah. Oh yeah, the eye cover thingy. Yeah. From a line, it seems really adorable. Like it's a hunting strategy, but I can't help but see the sharks peek their eyes above the water. It's adorable. Yeah. As someone who's only seen non-East Coast sharks throughout the unpreserved specimens, would you say the nictitating membranes move to sorts a bit post-preservation? Oh no, you're great. Like it's not a hyper. I mean, don't apologize for the question. It's a great question, Minjus. So let me rephrase that. As someone who's only seen non-U.S. East Coast sharks through preserved specimens, would you say the nictitating membrane moves to sorts a bit post-preservation? So that's a great question. We did have chain cat sharks in the collection, but I wasn't able to see their nictitating membrane, just because like I don't think I took a close look at those in particular. That's a really great question. I don't know, because like with let's see if we can find a cat shark's nictitating membrane. So that's a really, really good question. Because it seemed like from the other photographs that, well, This is interesting. It seemed like from the other photographs that the cat shark's nictitating membrane is a little bit more tucked in, but that actually, it's kind of cool to see that this coral cat shark has its eye looking almost completely covered. So I think to answer your question, it actually might. Well, I think to answer your question, probably in preservation, it probably would be. It probably would be kind of hard to dislodge. I forgot that cats have nictitating membranes too, so I forgot about that. So it's a very similar thing. This image is a classic one with this like creepy looking bird. But this is a classic example of what a nictitating membrane does. So this is a bird that has a nictitating membrane that's covering its eye to protect its eyeball. So, yeah. So very different from an eyelid. An eyelid just closes upon the eyeball, but for birds and cats, the nictitating membrane just protects it. So, yeah. So I think to answer your question, Minjas, it probably does get kind of stuck or lodged. It's probably hard for it, like during the preservation process, it's probably hard for it to kind of like dislodge. So, and that's a really great question. We have 10 minutes left, so just kind of bouncing through some other articles that may feature the graceful catshark. So this is a comparison. Actually, this is in a weird way a good example of a little bit of what I was like looking for. So when I was trying to find comparisons of the like the carcharinids or carchariniforms, like if you looked at different families of carcharinidae or carchariniforms, you can kind of see how they all relate from noodly to not noodly. So here we go. So these are all carchariniform sharks, but you can see a variation in body shape where over here in figure A is a kind of cat shark, E is a cat shark, I is a hound shark. So you can see that has a little bit of a sleeker look and higher dorsal fins, and the dorsal fins are equal size. J is a hound shark as well. F is the graceful cat shark. So it's kind of like this unique form where it's kind of long and thin like a cat shark, but it has the high dorsal fins like a hound shark. So sorry, the music is there. We go. B is a classic cat shark over here. G is a classic cat shark. K is a hound shark. L is actually a kind of carcharinid shark. So this one is more of a robust body plan, a little bit of a sleeker look. This is actually a true Requin shark. C is a cat shark, D is a cat shark, G is a cat shark. H is a hound shark. So you can kind of start to see the difference. They're all in the same order, carchariniforms, but there's a difference in the look where if it's long and thin, it's a cat shark. If it has two equal-sized dorsal fins that look a little bit sleeker, it's a hound shark. And if it has one large dorsal fin and one small first dorsal fin and one small second dorsal fin, it's probably a Requin shark. So it's kind of cool to see they're all in the same order, but they're very different families. So yeah. Let's see if we can get one more piece of information before we call it a night. I appreciate you guys being here because I definitely, I don't know if you could tell, but I definitely am having, like, I'm in that Monday brain fog kind of like I'm not even sleepy per se, just, oh, this is really cool, actually. I feel like I've been a little bit all over the place tonight, so I appreciate all of our conversations. So this is really cool. This is actually a view of a graceful catshark pup. And really interesting, by the way. So this is a male, and this male actually has large claspers that are past the pelvic fin, but let's see if it has an umbilical scar. Or I guess it wouldn't if it has a yoke. So, and this is a female right here. So, And then this is the egg of the graceful catshark. So this is a graceful catshark egg. It's really cool to see the subtle differences in egg casings between sharks. So this one actually has a pretty small tendrils. So many catshark eggs actually have pretty long, exaggerated tendrils, but for the graceful catshark, not really. You can actually see the graceful catshark embryo inside the egg. So the yolk is right here, and then the shark is developing around it. Beautiful view of a female graceful catshark. So looking pretty small. This is not a really smart observation, but and then a male graceful catshark. It's kind of interesting to see morphologically the differences, and it's not just that the male shark has claspers and the female just has the cloaca. They almost look like a little bit different, where the female catshark looks like the female graceful catshark looks like she has a bit of a wider head, and the male graceful catshark looks like he has more of a narrower head. Now that can happen. It depends on the species, but there can be shark sexual dimorphism, which is kind of cool. So I don't know if that's what's going on, or if these are just two different individuals who this one be a little bit older and may have eaten a little bit more than this one, but still really cool to see. So this actually is an interesting article that has sharks from, I want to say this is from Japan. So I'm seeing some species like this is a mako shark, short fin mako right here. Yes, there's also bullhead sharks. So the Japanese bullhead shark is right here, actually. Or zebra bullhead shark, sorry. Zebra bullhead shark is right here. This one is a Japanese bullhead shark on the top. So. No, I want to say there's something different about Jay's skills, but could be wrong. L's skills, yeah. Yep. Mine just feels like that. If anything, thank you for stream. Oh, thank you, yeah. Oh, cool. Oh, Minjas, yeah. Actually, great callback. I had to look for the specific stream, but I want to say there was another cat shark where there's a large difference between the head size between males and females. I think you're right, and I cannot for the life of me remember which species that was, but I do think you're right. And it was from this part of the world too. It was from the Indo-Pacific as well, which is kind of interesting. And you're right. There was it was a cat shark, and it was from this area. But I forget the reason why there was a morphological difference. And I think they were studying both is it ontological difference? So differences in tooth type as the shark's age, but also differences in tooth type and other physical features between the two sexes. So it's so interesting to see that these two sharks are the same species. And aside from like the obvious with the claspers or no claspers, there's other subtle features that make them look different, where the females look a bit wider than the males. So it's really, really interesting. I think that might be all I have for the Graceful Catshark tonight. Yeah, I think that actually might be it. Make sure I didn't miss anything here, because I think the rest is just photographs of other shark species from the same region. Oh, beautiful view of scalped hammerhead right here, actually. Yeah, I think that might be everything. It's a really interesting collection, by the way. I will post this collection of sharks here. Yeah. If anybody's interested in sharks of Japan, it's actually an interesting photo catalog here. But I think with that, we'll end on this beautiful image from Andy Merck on the Graceful Catshark. And I think we will call it a night. So I like that we're ending on this image versus the clips of the sharks in captivity. I really, really like that we're ending tonight's stream on Graceful Catsharks in the wild. So just in their natural habitat. Doing ironically similar yeah behavior. So just saw your comments, great Mintus. But like it's super cool. I mean, like I love articles like that where you have like a snapshot of just the biodiversity of the region. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. This was a fun stream where I love the streams where we kind of like meander to different topics, and I'm glad we talked about museums, we talked about the moon, and we talked about, most importantly, the graceful cat shark and some of the interesting things that make it unique, where it only lays 2 eggs. It is an intermediary shark between the hound sharks and the other cat sharks, and it's overall a beautiful species in a family that has been relatively recently separated from the other cat sharks. But next week we're going to be talking about spy hopping and with a smooth hound from the west coast, so I'm really excited for that. But until then, hope you guys all have a great week and enjoy the spooky season. Hope you guys watch scary movies, and if you're into Halloween, decorate. I know we're doing that. And I will see you next week for spy hopping. But until then, take care and have a good one. Bye, guys.